friends, welcome to my channel SushantChessWise. Today we are looking at the next topic, that is the central pawn roller. Okay, so like we discussed the topic of pawn storm, where we see the pawns are pushed on the king side or one side of the board. So in central pawn roller, what happens? The pawns are pushed in the middle of the board. Okay, and two pawns we will see they are attacking the opponent's pieces and they are driving them away. That is called central pawn roller. Okay, let's look at the game. E4, E5, NF3, then C6, Bishop C4, Bishop C5, and now white plays the move C3. So white wants to play D4 and get two strong pawns in the middle of the board. Black's main move is NF6. Now after D4, it's almost forced to take. Otherwise, black will lose. Not only the move, even the E5 pawn is attacked. So PD4, CD4. So this is the starting position of the Greco's gambit. If B4 check, NC3, N into E4 is allowed. Do check out my lesson 40 for the Greco's gambit. Now in this game, black played the move BB6. We are going to look at two different examples where the central pawns push the pieces. So now what we will see here, white uses these central pawns to drive the black knights away. So there is one very important point to be noted. If white plays E5, black can try the move D5, attacking the bishop, and the knight can get placed on E4 if the bishop moves. And E into F, D into C, F into G7, Rook G8 will give decent position to black. So white gets started with the move D5. This will not allow D5 and force the knight to go away. Now black has two sensible options. Already the position has become worse. Knight can either go to E7 to keep attack on the D5 square, and this might come to G6. But the problem is when white gets E5, then what happens to this knight? Because this knight will have to go to G8, and from E7 it is also lying on the G6 square. So both knights are getting trapped, like they are fighting for the same squares. And the move NF5 is outright blunder because the bishop moves away. And then we see that B4 is a big problem. After B4, the knight will get trapped. So black has to play the move knight B8. After knight B8, E5. Now we see black's position is really in serious trouble already. See just few moves in the opening, and all white has got is his central pawns rolling. And black pieces are, especially the knights, are driven away. If the knight comes to G4, we can go H3 idea, but right now F2 is hanging. So after castle, if especially black castles, then we can do H3, and after knight H6, BH6, GH6, the pawn structure near the king will be shattered. And after knight F2, Rook F2, BF2, KF2, two pieces for rook and pawn, we see that these two pieces are very powerful. Those are given up for the rook and pawn. Okay. I must also tell that here the move D6 and NG5, they are also very strong. Knight G5, then the queen attacks the knight, and if the knight moves, then queen comes to H5. After knight E5, queen H5 can be considered. That is quite interesting. And D6 move is also very strong. It opens the bishop and threatens NG5. Let's go back to the game now. So E5 now. So black played the knight to G8. Now white pieces are all set to come out. Knight is well placed, bishop is well placed, two pawns are strongly placed. White is about to castle and then try to transfer his pieces to the king side. So castle, knight C3 was also a decent option. Knight goes to E7, and now the move D6, very strong. Pawn attacks the knight, and after CD, ED, we see that opening of center is even worse, very bad for black. And after the move knight G6, we have RE1 check or bishop G5. Both are totally winning. See, after bishop G5, F6, rook check, king F8, we go QD5, and it's game over. Nothing can defend F7. Knight E5 allows knight E5 or rook E5. And this mate on F7 can be defended only by queen E8 when R into E8. And it's game over. Okay, let's go back to the game. So after D6, the knight goes to G6, without taking CD6. Now we see normally what would happen. White would like to develop bishop G5, knight C3. These are good options. Actually, bishop G5 is very strong. After bishop G5, F6, EF, GF, RE1 check should also be winning for white. I will just show you the moves. BG5, F6, E into F, G into F, rook check, king F8. This we can say it's almost game over. Now bishop F6 mate. What white did in the game is also very strong and it also wins by force. Knight comes to G5, attacking F7. Black goes for castle. And now, as we saw in the game, missing knight on F6. What happens here? There is no knight on F6. So the queen comes to H5, forces to defend the H7 pawn by H6. Queen takes the knight. See the power of this bishop. That is why the move D6 was very important. D6 opened this bishop and D6 ensured that this bishop doesn't come out because black is not having the move D6. H into G5. Bishop takes G5. And now we see it is even worse as compared to BG5 line. This is also very strong. Now F6 is not possible because of the bishop. Only chance is perhaps queen into G5. When queen into G5 gives winning position. So black went queen E8 and after queen E8 bishop comes to F6. And we see that there is no defense to QG7. Even after the move queen E5, queen takes G7 is checkmate. Okay, so this is one example which I have taken for pawn roller. We will be looking at some more examples based on the same concept of pawn roller in the upcoming lessons. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.